Current takes the finals. Oh, it's absolute scenes here in the British Pokemon League.
Well, in 71, the Miami Heat are your team one Champions League together.
Bonga, baby! No! Picture lands again! He picks up
Hello everybody and welcome back to the British Pokemon League show. We are here at week numero 4. We're already at the penultimate week before the mid-season and free agency trades, which will work a little bit differently. This time I will get to that at the end of the show. We'll explain how that's going to work because when we get to the week 5 show next Monday, it's going to look a little bit different. Everyone's teams are going to look a little bit different. I might even look a little bit different. Who knows? I might have a different coloured hair. I might not be sick anymore. I might be dead by then. Who knows? See, I see Aaron, no hat. You get to see the faded as fuck blue hair. It's all good. Anyway, guys, hope you're all having a really good day. It's going to be an exciting show. Yeah, I can't believe we're already at week number 4. These seasons seem to just fly by. To be honest, it still feels like 5 minutes ago we were I was sat in my parents' bedroom. My bedroom at my parents' house, sitting down to do week 1 of season 1, and now here we are, and we're nearly halfway through season 3. But anyway, let's have a quick look at the league table going into this week. So Aaron's Inglorious Surfers still sitting atop of the British Pokemon League, still sitting there unbeaten. Is that unbeaten streak about to come to an end? Obviously the Rookidees showing a little bit of kink in the armour last week, so is anyone else about to show any more weaknesses there? We'll have to wait and see. Up in second, we've got Crizzle's South Croydon Saws. Great win for him last week over Latvians Miami Heat. Puts him up to second in the table. Our champion and runner-up in first and second place so far, so that's really exciting to see. In third place, a surprise package of Season 3 so far. Silver's Tyrants, after not the best start of the season in Week 1, has been on an absolute tear since then, picking up 2 really great big wins. So it'll be really exciting to see if he can continue that form going into this week, along with Space City PC, another one of our new guys into this season. Has made a great start of the season, unfortunately losing out to Dogsy's ShadowKings for that first loss of the season, but we'll hopefully be looking to get back to winning ways. Speaking of Dogsy's ShadowKings, not something we're used to seeing, Dogsy's ShadowKings in the top half of the table. We're not used to seeing it, but I tell you what, I do love to see it. It's so great to see Dogsy thriving this season, and I think we're in for an exciting few weeks for Mr. Dogsy. In 6th place, at the halfway point of the league, it is Latvians Miami Heat. A second loss of the season, quite surprising one really, losing out to Crizzle. 2 losses in a row for that is very unusual, but I'm sure we'll be looking to bounce back going into this week. And then into the bottom half of the table, we have got the Swindon Rookidees and the Wobbuffet Ninjas, both on that 1-2 record. The Ninjas obviously getting their first win of the season last week over Long Island Goomys. Newcastle Thunderous also picking up that all-important first win as well over the Knights of Cydonia. That's bumped them up a few positions, just sitting at the very edge of that relegation zone, closely followed by the Long Island Goomys, California Bastiodons and Knights of Cydonia. The Goomys, which obviously we just mentioned, losing out to the Ninjas, Bastiodons and Knights of Cydonia losing out last week as well. Into the schedule then for week number 4, and we've got one hell of a schedule for you this week. Kicking things off, we have got the Swindon Rookidees taking on the Long Island Goomys. As I said, both losing out last week, so could be an important one to see how this one goes, you know, but it's still early days, but it's still a lot to play for. Newcastle Thunderous versus Tyrants, the 2 stall players of the league. Obviously Dave putting on an absolute stall masterclass last week against Knights of Cydonia, and it'd be very interesting to see how that one goes. Up next it is the Inglorious Surfers taking on Knights of Cydonia. So we always seem to have one of these at least once a season. It is first versus last place. So one thing to note is that in past seasons, whenever this has happened, first place doesn't tend to win. Especially season 1, this seemed to be the case a lot of the time, is whoever was in first place would lose to last place. So do not count Jab out of that one, although Aaron will be looking to continue that unbeaten streak. Then we've got South Croydon Swords taking on Wobbuffet Ninjas. It is a repeat of our this match happened twice in playoffs. Actually, it was the playoffs round 1. Obviously, Crizzle getting the win in the first time round, and then loses round 2. Crizzle taking out what was then the Bully Boys and sending Matt out of playoffs. Up next, it is Space City PC taking on California Bastions. Alma trying and going to try to go back to winning ways, as well as Meme, both losing out in week 3. So, you know, Meme will be looking to continue that good form. And our final match of the week, it is the two best friends. It is ShadowKings taking on Miami Heat. Dogsy versus Latvian. They've not played each other since season 1, so it'll be very, very exciting to see how that one goes. Before I get into this week's games, however, I must unfortunately bring you the sad news that we do not have the footage of Newcastle Thunderers versus Tyranitar Tyrants. I was not around to record the match, and unfortunately neither Dave nor Silver was there to save the replays. So we don't have any footage of this. All I can sort of give you as context is overall, when I counted, this game went well over 70 turns. Which is just sensational. Like, 3 matches have 70 turns. Just to give you a sort of idea of what this game was like. I can only give you eyewitness of what I saw, and it was a lot of stall. Unfortunately, I don't even have anything to sort of visualize it, but just, as I said in the Discord, just imagine Razor from Robot Wars trying to take on the house robots. That's pretty much what it was like. Just sort of like, you know, immovable object meets unstoppable force, essentially, was what that match was. But I will tell you now that the Tyranitar Tyrants did take that one 2-1, so Silver picking himself up another win, and Dave losing out after that really great week 3 win. But Dave looking very, very solid, starting to get grips with that team, and you know, I think Dave's going to be in for an exciting season. But on to our first match of the week. It is the Long Island Goomys taking on the Swindon Rookidees. As you can see in the head-to-head record, these two have yet to face each other yet. Of course, last season was Draco's first season, and Draco was in the British Mountain League East Division. Meanwhile, Silly's Long Island Goomys were in the West Division. The Goomys not getting the result they wanted last week against the Ninjas. Silly did say during that match he did forget to put a move on Blastoise, which I would agree did lead to his downfall in that match, but you know, you can never count out that Blastoise Zen lead. It is so strong. If he's able to get Geomancy set up, you know, that Xerneas can just sweep through a team if there's very little to no fairy resistance. You know, I say this every week, but that Zen is really, really powerful. The Arcanine could be very, very big in this game, you know, just for those intimidates and just to put on that pressure with the fire type, you know, if Draco is to bring that Genesect. As I said, I would very much expect that the Blastoise comes to this game. Do not put it past Silly. We say this every week. Do not put it past Silly for him to bring something a bit unorthodox. We saw in week 1 the Kamala came. We've not really seen anything too out of the ordinary since then, but you know, you can never put it past him. Of course, that Talonflame as well with those that Gale Wings can be quite spicy. You get that Tailwind up. Any flying moves obviously getting priority. And keep an eye out for Breloom as well here. You know, I've seen it in a couple of matches of Silly's where he's been able to put a sash on it and get Spore off. And this thing, of course, has Effect Spore as well, so if you make contact with this Pokemon, you can get a range of status effects. So, very, very spicy team, along with that Mega Salamence as well with that Air Alert ability. Very, very powerful stuff. Over on Draco's side then, as I said, obviously losing out in a very close way to Aaron's Inglorious Surfers. Probably the team that's come closest to taking out Aaron thus far, and Draco making a very good account of himself in that match. Your Veltal just being an absolute powerhouse so far for Draco, so keep an eye out for that one. Could be very, very good here. Not so much a good matchup into that Xerneas, so just need to watch out for that, but if he's able to deal with that Xerneas, then who knows what this Yveltal can do. Didn't see any of Mega Diancie last week. I think that 4x Steel weakness has put Draco off a little bit, but it could also work in this matchup. You know, it's Rock Fairy. It's got a good matchup into that Arcanine. and a few others on Silly's team. Of course, that Coco as well. We've seen Coco running with the Drift Blim, getting that electric terrain up, Drift Blim with the electric seed, allowing it to get that defense buff, and of course procs that unburden. And I would very strongly expect that Cottony is going to come just to give Draco that really useful support. You know, it's not the bulkiest thing ever with an Eviolite. It makes it that little bit extra bulky. Has a good sort of move pool though with Prankster, of course. So is the baby Whimsicott. And rounding out the team, of course, we've got Zygarde 10%, Mr. Mime, Lanoon, and Monferno. Haven't really seen any of Monferno yet, so wondering whether we will get to see it. But you know, Draco could have something up his sleeve to you know, allow him to use it in this match. But without further ado, let's get into this one. It is the Long Island Goomys taking on the Swindon Rookidees. I mean, you see Draco's team there. He's got the Cottony, he has got the Genesect, the Coco, Driftblim, Mega Diancie, and the Mr. Mime. So the Mr. Mime making its appearance. And over on Silly side, we've got the Blastoise, Xerneas, Kamala, Empoleon, Mega Salamence, and it is the Oricorio. So Oricorio making his first appearance for Silly, and he is leading with the Oricorio as well. Oricorio and Blastoise, meanwhile, and Draco leading with the Genesect and the Cottony. Genesect not getting the special attack download boost that Draco is perhaps looking for in this one. 1.5 times attack boost. Of course, it does have the same as the fake out comes out from that Blastoise. There's the fake tears from the Cottony, and the Tailwind goes up from the Oricorio then. So not a lot going on in that turn. The fake out coming out, just that obviously has that pressure. I would have thought Silly would have maybe looking to sort of hit into that Cottony, but didn't want an attack to go off from that Gen 6 and understand that as the Kamala switches in for the Blastoise, and there's the Tailwind from the Cottony. Kamala eats that Thunderbolt up, and Hurricane does miss from the Oricorio though, so a good switch in there from Silly. Euro was coming from that Genesect. I will prefix right now, guys. I am struggling with a chest infection. If I do mute or go quiet very briefly, it is probably because I'm coughing my guts up, so I do apologise in advance. And yeah, some very choice nicknames on Silly's side. I had absolutely nothing to do with them. So Kamala and Oricorio, you know, we were wondering whether Silly was going to bring these unorthodox Pokemon, you know, these things that people don't expect. You know, you don't hard prep for these things, and Silly is just such a master of using them. As Mega Diancie switches in, and Blastoise switches back in for the Kamala. Hurricane comes out from the Oricorio after it takes the Thunderbolt hit, and it does get the confusion on the Genesect as well, doing some good damage to the Genesect as well. 2 turns left of Tailwind for Draco, and 1 turn left for Silly as well. So Draco about to get that speed control, because Oricorio, if it manages to stay alive on the field, could potentially get that Tailwind up again, although facing down that Mega Diancie with a Diamond Storm is not exactly where you want to be. And the Coco switches into that Genesect, you know, just reset that confusion, gets that electric terrain as well. Fake Out goes into that Mega Diancie, so good choice there from Silly. And there's the Hurricane from the Oricorio, and it gets another confusion, so 2 confusions in a row for Silly's Oricorio, and it still sits there menacingly on the other side of the field. And this is the electric variant, so it is going to get a boost from that electric terrain as well. So Draco is going to have to watch out for that. You know, it's potentially just aided that Oricorio. Is the confusion going to hit on Draco? Is he going to get the roll that he wants for this turn? Follow Me comes out from the blast. So the confusion, he hits himself though, and the Diamond Storm misses the Oricorio. It gets some good little damage away from the Blastoise, and does get the defense boost from that Diamond Storm, but Oricorio able to get that Tailwind up, and now speed control fully on Silly's side. And not a great turn there from Draco. Not really much he could do, you know, the RNG there. As Aaron's just rightly said in chat, not exactly ideal for him. Confusion procs, Diamond Storm misses the Oricorio where he really needed to hit. Very unfortunate there, but Tailwind and speed control well on Silly's side now. Still yet to see that 4th and final Pokemon, but you'd have to rightly presume it is that Xerneas kicking around the back, but no one's down yet for either side, so it's a good position for them to both be in. Helping Hand comes out from that Blastoise, and there is the Revelation dancing that Mega Marilyn. The Mega Diancie, there's some good Electro Web comes out from the Coco as the confusion ends. Procs that Citrus Berry on the Blastoise, and there's the Diamond Storm to take care of that Oricorio. Gets advantage to Draco, and Blastoise now on pretty low health as well. Is Silly going to look to get that Xerneas in? And he does. In comes the Xerneas. And now this is where it could get very problematic for Draco. He's got to do something to take care of that Zen as the Kamala switches in for the Blastoise, potentially eat the Thunderbolt from Draco's side as the Protect comes out from Diancie. Geomancy obviously going off for the Zen as Nature's Madness goes into the Zen from the Coco, but only doing half damage, and now that Zen is fully set up, it's got the speed buff, it's got the Tailwind. What's going to happen here? I think a dazzling gleam here from that Zen is going to really hurt with that special attack boost. Draco had some sort of resist, maybe could sort of look at switching. There's a dazzling gleam. It takes out both Mega Diancie and Coco in 110, and it just starts to roll. Kamala doesn't even get to use its last resort from its sleep talk, and now in comes a Genesect on pretty low HP, and of course the Cottony as well. And this is not a good spot for Draco to be in. He needs to get Tailwind up, but is it going to be enough for that Genesect to outspeed the Zen with its 2-time speed buff? Of course, Tailwind is down at least for Silly. He's got to go for something here, try and take out. Fake Tears comes out from the Cottony. There's the Dazzling Gleam, and it's going to take out both Cottony and the Genesect, and Silly takes the lead of this match. Great stuff there from Silly, just patiently waiting to bring that Zen in. Brought it in the late game, and it absolutely wrecks house in the space of 2 turns. Silly choosing not to switch things up, keeps in the Oricorio and the Blastoise, and Draco switches things out. Starts off with the Coco and the Drifblim, gets that defense buff from the Electric Seed and procs that on Bird, and there's a fake out from the Blastoise. Then the Tailwind goes up from the Drifblim. Is the Tailwind going to go up from the Oricorio? It does, so there you go, Tailwind to match the Tailwind. John Deere is John Deere tractors, Aaron. And this Kamala switches in again for that Blastoise, the Thunderbolt into that Kamala. It's a double Thunderbolt, and Kamala just managing to hang on. There's a Revelation Dance, and it takes out the Drifblim, the Electric Terrain, giving that buff to that Oricorio, and Drifblim goes down, and it's advantage Silly. Are we about to see this Oricorio just wreck house? While the terrain's up as Mega Diancie now switches in. Plus 2 times a Tailwind up for both sides. It's not over till the Fat Lee sings. Draco is only a mon down. Does know that Xerneas is kicking around in the back, so that'll be in the back of Draco's mind, of course. Diancie goes for his Mega. The Electro Web is going to take out the Command and drops the speed on that Oricorio. The Stealth Rock comes out from the Mega Diancie, and there's a Revelation Dance. Does a good amount of damage into that Mega Diancie then, but has dropped its speed at least. With 110 of the Tailwind, that's going to be quite important now as the Blastoise switches in, gets a little bit of damage taken away from those Stealth Rocks. Coco in a very good spot here to be able to take care of this Blastoise. We thought that Silly now is going to be able to bring it in and get a fake out off. My apologies. Draco, meanwhile, is going to have to be looking to try and take care of that Oricorio then. Seeing how much damage that Revelation Dance is going to do. Protect comes out from the Mega Diancie. Silly fake out into the right. Mon and Coco goes down. Revelation Dance though goes into that Protect. And no damage done there from Draco's side, but Tailwind now does end. Coco taking a little bit of chip damage from that fake out. Oricorio just sort of controlling things at this point of the game as well. It's been so good in that game 1, and Silly just proving just how solid it is in this game number 2 as well. As the Genesect now switches in for that Mega Diancie. There's the Electro Web from the Tapu Koko, but it does miss that Oricorio. Drops the speed on the Blastoise at least. There's a Revelation Dance in that Genesect gets a crit as well, and Genesect just about hanging on. There's the Water Spout, and that's going to take out Genesect, and all of a sudden it is 2v3. It is all up to Coco and Mega Diancie then. Speed drops are going to be very useful on that side. There's the Thunderbolt into Blastoise. Proxy Spray gets a little bit of HP, but there's the Diamond Storm that is going to take out both Blastoise and Oricorio. So great turn there from Draco. Obviously had the speed, and you know Coco was going to be faster anyway. And now it is all up to Xerneas then in a 1v2. So just in one turn, Draco has just completely swung this the other way and might be able to just tie us up here. Silly has got to go for a Geomancy at this point to give him any chance of winning this one. Takes a little bit of chip damage from the Stealth Rocks. There's the Thunderbolt from the Tapu Koko. Gets the Para on the Zen as well. The Diamond Storm doesn't quite take it out, but the Para procs on the Zen, and that is going to do it. Draco is going to tie us up at 1 apiece. Thunderbolt does the job from Tapu Koko. And it is now 1-1 going into a game 3 between these two, sort of super close stuff. The late game being really important in both of those games then, as Draco, like Silly did in that first game, choosing if it's not broken, don't fix it, brings out the Koko and the Drifblim. And Silly this time goes for the super aggressive lead of Zen and Blastoise then. So Blastoise going to be able to get a fake out or follow me off this first turn, and Zen just going to be allowed to just go straight for that Geomancy and set itself right up for the next few turns. Draco's got to have something in his locker to take out this Zen and deal with the pressure being put on with the mons surrounding it as well. That is the one problem you've got. You can't ignore the Zen for sure, but if you just double focus it down, you can find yourself in a bit of a spot if a Protect comes out from Silly's side. Obviously has that unburden. Has potentially got to go for the tail. Vega comes out from that Blastoise. There goes the Tailwind. Then Geomancy is going to go off. But Draco does have speed control. Is he going to be fast enough though? Does get that special. Obviously, the Zen gets the special defense buff from that Geomancy. And Blastoise potentially now going to be free to just go into a Follow Me. And I'm not too sure that either of those ones are going to have any kind of spread move that's strong enough to be able to deal with that Zen, so not in a good position here. Facing down that Xerneas. Follow Me comes out from the Blastoise. Will-O-Wisp comes out into that Blastoise then, and there's a Thunderbolt, gets some good damage off from the Blastoise, and procs that Citrus Berry, takes about above hit for HP, but the Dazzling Gleam from the Zen takes out both Koko and Drifblim, and it's almost a rinse and repeat of game number 1. We're on 10, number 2, and all of a sudden it is a 2v4. Xerneas just absolutely just controlling this one and decimating Draco's Pokemon with those Dazzling Gleams. It's up to Genesect and Mega Diancie now. Genesect not getting the download boost it wanted either. Tailwind is at least up for Draco, but while that Blastoise is alive, Blastoise can just freely Follow Me. There's the Follow Me does come out. Flash Cannon into that Blastoise. There's the Diamond Storm. It misses the Zen. Blastoise is going to go down to the burn, but it's not going to matter because there's the Dazzling Gleam and Mega Diancie, and the Genesect only just hanging on. Blastoise does go down to the burn, but this one looks all but over. It's got to potentially go for the Flash Cannon into that Zen, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough for that special defense boost. Protect comes out from that Zen. That's a good Protect from Xerneas. There's the Diamond Storm. Not going to quite do enough to Kamala. Kamala gets the last resort on the Mega Diancie. Kamala gets in itself another kill, and now it's all up to Genesect. Tailwind is gone, and there's a Dazzling Gleam to finish it off, and Silly takes this one 2-1 over Draco. So Draco with a third loss in a row then, and Silly getting himself back to winning ways, and that was absolutely crazy. What a crazy match we have to open this week. Who would have expected that Electric-type Oricorio, and Silly just making full use of it. Draco getting a little bit unfortunate with the RNG at times in that matchup, but that just had nothing to stop that Xerneas, especially in that game number 3. So full props to Silly and GG's to both players. I'm sure Draco will be looking to get back to winning ways as we move on to the halfway point of the season. That's not a worry. We know how talented of a player this guy is. And Silly then nets himself a second win of the season. Into our match number 2 then is the Knights of Cydonia taking on the Inglorious Surfers, and like our first match of this week, these two were on opposite sides of the leagues last season in Season 2. It was Jabba's first season last season. He started off in the West Division. Of course, Aaron, one of our Season 1 originals, was over in the East Division, so no head-to-head record to speak of. So these two, both bit sort of, unknown, entities to each other, but of course, I've had the show to sort of watch how each other play. As you can see there, that Aaron with the 3-0 record, whereas Jabba not able to secure a win since week 1, losing out to Space City PC and of course Newcastle Thunderers last week. But Aaron's team, need we say more about that Zacian Crown? Zacian Crown is going to look to be very strong in this one. There's a heavy steel type influence in that Knights of Cydonia team, so I think Rotom Heat ought to be very, very strong in this one as well. Of course, Lugia with that Psychic Dragon typing as well makes it sort of pretty weak to any kind of attack from something like a Marshadow as well, so keep an eye out for that. Sorry, it's Psychic Fly, not Psychic Dragon, my apologies. Mega Aerodactyl as well could look to be quite prominent in this one to deal with that Lugia, and something like the Alola Marowak as well as the Salamence, so keep an eye out for that. Hitmontop as well could prove to be quite strong, and here's a lot of physical attackers on Jabba's team, you know, to get those in Tims off, and you know, Hitmontop's just an all-round strong support Pokemon with that quick guard, wide guard, and fake out pressure that it gives. Not too much electric type to speak of on the Knights of Cydonia team, so I'm not too sure whether the Marowak would come this week, but you know, it's something that Aaron might have in the back of his mind to deal with Jabba's Marowak, you know, the Marowak versus Marowak battle. And of course, we've got the Ranger there as well, Pelipper and Ludicolo, should Aaron choose to go down that route. Whether it will be strong going into this team, I don't know. It depends if Jabba brings something like the T-Tar, you know, or the Alola Marowak here could prove to be quite strong. Over on Jabba's side then, you know, it has seemed to be strongly sticking with that Lugia lead to set up those Calm Minds and roost itself back to full HP. Of course, with that multi-scale ability means it takes half damage when at full HP from super effective attacks. And the Mega Lucario then, you know, we've not seen enough of it really since week 1, but it's certainly going to be something in the back of Aaron's mind just how strong this thing is. And of course Escavalier as well. If if Jabba is able to get the Trick Room up, then that Escavalier could be really, really strong in this matchup. You know, we saw the destructive power of that thing in week 1, so do not count that thing out. As well as Serperia as well, you know, Serperia with that, you know, I always forget its ability, but it is Contrary. Yeah, there we go. My brain will start kicking and working eventually. Contrary. So you can go for things like the Leaf Storms and whatnot, and gets the stat boosts rather than a stat drop. So some good mons on Jabba's side. And, you know, I'm sure Jabba has something up his sleeve to deal with Aaron's sort of hyper offense strong lineup. So without further ado, let's get into this one. It is the Knights of Cydonia versus Inglorious Surfers, and Aaron leading the line with the Rotom Heat, the Zashinkron, Marshadow, Mega Aerodactyl, Hitmontop, and this Stantler this time. So Stantler with a few interesting abilities. And Jabba has Lugia, Bronzor, Mega Lucario, the Alola Marowak, Escavalier, and of course Fletchinder. And he does choose to lead with Fletchinder and Lugia. So last week we did see that Fletchinder go for a quick guard then, so it could be useful here against something like the Marshadow. We know how good of a Marshadow could be with that Shadow Sneak and Technician ability. Aaron leading the line with that Mega Aerodactyl as well. So a lot of flying types on the field right now. There's a lot of flapping wings. Going on the field right now. And then, of course, the Aerodactyl goes for Mega. The Shadow Sneak almost taking that Fletch Engine one shot, and the Rock Slide is going to finish it off. So Aerodactyl getting the kill for straight away, and the Feather Dance comes out from that Lugia. Dropped the attack on the Marshadow, but gets taken back down to 70% HP. So it means it's not at full health, so another Rock Slide ought to do a lot of damage to that Lugia, unless Jabba's got something to boost that Lugia's health back up to full. What has Jabba decided to bring in at turn number 2? Already a mon down. Jabba taking his time to analyse what he wants to bring in. And Lucario, so Mega Lucario comes into play then. So Mega Aerodactyl not going to enjoy taking a Steel type move from that Mega Lucario. So maybe Jabba just goes on the offense here and tries to protect that Lugia, knowing how strong a Shadow Sneak or, you know, any kind of ghost move from that Marshadow can be on something like the Spectral Thief. It's signature move. It's going to do big damage into that thing. Marshadow has had its attack drop, so maybe Aaron is going to look to switch this thing out just to reset its stat, or maybe he's just going to leave it in there just for the offensive pressure it provides, you know, that it might be quite defensively weak, but still it's gonna provide a lot of, you know, attacking threat regardless. Just because of that priority shadow sneak, you know, it's gonna do a lot of damage. Jabba then taking his sweet time to decide what he wants to do. Is the Rotom Heat switches in there? Is the switching we said about him? Lucario goes for his Mega. There's the Earthquake from the Mega Aerodactyl. That takes Lucario down to half HP. He's got the Heal Pulse on the Mega Lucario though, and the Lugia goes for the Calm Mind. Lugia now back up to full HP. Gets a special attack and special defense boost. As now Rotom Heat leads the field, and Rotom Heat, you know, has pressure over both Mega Lucario and Lugia here. Of course, Lugia being part flying is going to be weak to a Thunderbolt, and Mega Lucario being part steel going to be weak to any amount of fire move, overheat or flamethrower, anything of the likes. It does appear to be a supportive sort of Mega Lucario. They're not something you would expect to see, but this is what the sort of beauty of the draft league. This is what you want to see. You want to see unexpected sets, unexpected builds. Try and throw your opponent off. As the Marowak Alola drops in, and it's going to take an Earthquake. Not a great switch in there from Jabba as Marowak now goes down below half HP. There's the Aeroblast into the Rotom Heat, but it's going to resist that, and it's going to easily live that and get its nasty plot off as well. And that's the one thing you don't want to let Rotom Heat get, is its nasty plots. That's where it starts to get very, very scary, and even with those special defense boosts, if Lugia drops below that full HP, it's in a world of trouble facing down that Rotom Heat. Of course, Alola Marowak does have that Lightning Rod ability, so it's going to feel a little bit safe. Tailwind goes off from that Mega Aerodactyl, and the Aeroblast is going to get blocked by that Protect. There is the Perish Song, though, from the Alolan Marowak. Not something that's so Jabba bringing completely unconventional sets here. Really, that will have really thrown Aaron off a little bit, but, you know, Aaron does have the Mon advantage here, so we'll feel a little bit confident from that. No, I can just play this one patiently how he wants it to, but not too patiently. He doesn't want to go down to any Perish Songs. I think Jabba was taking a little bit of time during this, as he was a little bit perplexed as to what happened to his Fletchlander's Tailwind in that first turn, but of course, as Shadow Sneak got priority first, it hit into Fletchlander, and because Fletchlander is now full HP, means Gale Wings doesn't go off and doesn't get the priority Tailwind. Aaron knows he's got to deal with that Alola Marowak before he can deal with the Lugia though. Of course, no electric attacks are going to work. At that point, you're just going to give Marowak a nice spicy special, but the Rock Slide does miss the Marowak, takes Lugia below full HP. There's the Lightning Rod, there it is. He's fully expecting that Rock Slide to hit in the Marowak and take it out, and unfortunately it doesn't. There's a Skull Bash into the Mega Aerodactyl, and it's had a Feather Dance as well for good measure to drop its attack further, so I keep calling everyone Draco Jabba, going for those that sort of patient sort of stall play with the Perish Songs to try and take out these hyper offense mons of Aaron's Mega Aerodactyl and that Rotom Heat. You would imagine that Zacian as well is kicking around in the back for that late game. There's the Earthquake from the Mega Aerodactyl, obviously not going to affect that Rotom Heat or the Lugia, and Marowak does manage to live. Overheat there though from the Rotom Heat, doesn't quite take out Lugia. Aeroblast doesn't quite do enough Rotom Heat, and procs that Citrus Spiration in there. The Flare Blitz from the Alola Marowak, just to say it hangs on from that recall damage, and every mon now about to perish next turn, so this is an important one. Aaron knows he needs to take care of both these mons or he's going to lose his Mega Aerodactyl and Rotom Heat, or does he choose to switch them out? Resets that Perish Song and then puts the pressure on Jabba. Interesting stuff though from Jabba, maybe taking inspiration from the way Dave played against him last week with that patient sort of stall play, knowing that Lugia can just tank sort of hits going into it. With that multi-scale ability, and Lugia just being generally pretty, you know, bulky. And Mega Lucario now switching. There's the Air Quick, maybe not the best switch in there, but Alone Marowak does go down. Is Lucario going to go down that Thunderbolt? It is. So Aaron takes care of another 2 months, but does lose his Mega Aerodactyl and Rotom Heat to that's Parasong, but it is now a 1v2. What does Jabba have in the back then? And in comes a Zacian Crown. It is, of course, Lugia with an 18% HP to face down a Zacian Crown and Marshadow. This one looks over. At least for this game, at least. Aaron going to take this one 1-0, just playing around that sort of stall play that Jabba tried with the Parasong. Yeah, this one did take a little while. I think Jabba was taking his time early on because he was just so perplexed about what happened turn 1. The Protect comes out from the Zacian, the Protect comes out from the Lugia. There's a Shadow Sneak, goes in that Protect. Lugia gets a little bit of HP back from the leftovers. And this one is always just a sort of matter of time now. Obviously, Lugia maybe could go for another Protect, but I think regardless, that one Shadow Sneak or Spectral Thief from that Marshadow gonna do the job. And if not, Zacian Crown's obviously got the attack boost from that Intrepid Sword. It's going to take care of it. Does go for the Protect, it fails. Shadow Sneak goes in, and there it goes. Aaron taking game number 1, then starting off in the front foot in this first versus last place battle. And Aaron leading the line this time with the Mega Aerodactyl and the Stantler then. And Jabba switching things up as well, choosing to lead with a Escavalier and Bronzer, so dropping that Lugia lead and going for a sort of hard Trick Room this time. Trying to slow the game up a little bit. Intimidate on that Stantler is going to drop the attack on that Escavalier as well, dropping the attack on Bronzor, but that's not going to matter too much. Bronzor kind of hard support. He's of course the baby brother of Bronzor, so it's going to be kind of bulky with that Eviolite, but of course nowhere near as strong and tanky as normal Bronzor would be. And now I'm going to just aim to go for damage here with the Rock Slide, trying to maybe get a flinch. There's the Hypnosis from the Stantler, gets the sleep on the Escavalier, and the flinch goes off on the Bronzor as well. An absolutely terrible turn for Jabba in terms of RNG. Not only gets the Intim drops, but also goes to sleep from that Hypnosis and flinches on the Bronzor. Not what he'll have wanted in the start of this game number 1. And Aaron now is just can freely just deal with that Escavalier, and potentially if he can take out that Bronzor too. And, you know, can stop it from getting any sort of Trick Room up, or, you know, we've seen this thing run with screens before, like a reflector or a light screen. Could see that come out from Jabba's side as the Mega Aerodactyl switches out. In comes the Hitmontop, then gets another Intim off. Hypnosis goes off into the Bronzor. Now both Escavalier and Bronzor fast asleep. Escavalier asleep for another turn. And Hitmontop then. Gonna look to try and get some damage off now against that Escavalier or potentially that Bronzor. Stantler just providing that pressure with those status moves. You know, I don't think I've ever seen Hypnosis hit once, never mind twice in the space of 2 turns. It's genuinely sensational. There's the map punch in the Bronzor, not quite doing enough. Double Edge is going to resist. There's the Bronzor. Bronzor gets the 1-10 wake up, and there's the Toxic from the Bronzor. Escavalier waking up as well. There's the Revenge, not going to really do all that much damage. Expecting maybe the hit to go into it, but Bronzor with the Toxic. So yeah, trying out that stall type play that we see from like Silver and Dave. Just, you know, putting Aaron's Mons on that countdown timer with those Toxics. You know, if he can successfully live these hits, there's not too much offensive pressure on Aaron's side. Currently, we've seen Mach Punch, and of course Double Edge not doing too much. There's a Mega Aerodactyl, which then Reflect goes up from Aaron's side. There's a Sword Stance from Escavalier to get back to neutral attack, and Bronzor gets Trick Room up as well. So Speed Control on Jabba's side now. It is still 4v4, no Mons down just yet. And Hitmontop switches in, gets the Intim off, gets that Escavalier back down to below -1 HP. And Toxic comes out from the Bronzor again, the flinch from the Ironhead in that Mega Aerodactyl as well, getting some good damage off there with that super effective attack. Mega Aerodactyl down to about half HP. And now both Mega Aerodactyl and Hitmontop on that timer with the Toxic Poison, so Bronzor just happily sitting there, poisoning everything in its wake. Protect comes out from the Bronzor, fake out into that Escavalier and stop it from getting any damage off from that Mega Aerodactyl. There's the Earthquake, it's going to do some good damage but not quite enough. And Toxic takes both Aerodactyl and Hitmontop down below half HP. A very sensational game so far, you know, in turn number 7 and still all 4 Mons on the field. This is sort of the, this makes up for not seeing Dave versus Silver, I think. Aerodactyl switches out and in comes the Stantler, drops the attack on the Escavalier even more. There's the map and just going to crit, but it's not enough to take out the Escavalier. Ironhead into that Stantler, and Bronzor goes for the light screen then, so an interesting choice of moves there. No, not too much special attacking threat on Aaron's side, bar that raw on heat. I'm not too sure he's brought it as of yet, you know, it's in Stantler, Hitmontop and Mega Aerodactyl. There's a Mach Punch again, not quite taken out. Toxic comes out from the Bronzor into the Stantler. There's the double edge from the Stantler. That is going to now take out Escavalier. And Aaron has a 1-mon advantage, but now does have 3 of his Mons Toxic poisoned. And Hitmontop is edging ever closer to being knocked out, as now in comes the Alolan Marowak. We've already seen this thing run at the Perish Song then. Of course has Lightning Rod as well. Aerodactyl now switches in. There's the Hypnosis from the Stantler. Another Hypnosis landing for Aaron's side, and Bronzor gets the Trick Room set up to allow that Alolan Marowak to potentially have gone first if it hadn't gone for a nap. RNG not going the way of Jabba here, but does get the Protect there on the Bronzor. Reflect goes up on Aaron's side. There's the Earthquake. That does some really good damage to the Marowak, but not quite enough. And now, look, he's edged his Stantler even closer to being knocked out. The Toxic Poison taking it down to below 20%. That that Mega Aerodactyl as well on a pretty low health bar. So Aaron's really got to sort of get going and taking these Mons out. Bronzor, of course, has Burn to Protect there. It's whether he has anything to really take care of that Bronzor at this point. You know, just slow chipping with it. Alolan Marowak switches out. Now in comes the Lugia then as his 4th and final Mon. There's a double edge into the Lugia. That's to get the recall damage. The Rock Slide does miss the Lugia and does a bit of chip damage with a Bronzor. Stantler's going to go down to the Toxic Poison. The Mega Aerodactyl just about hanging on. Now in comes Hitmontop, gets the Intim away. Not that it's going to affect Lugia too much, but does at least allow him that fake out pressure on the Lugia to try and maybe take it out with that Mega Aerodactyl. But he's got to do it now. It's got to be now or never, or Jabba's going to find himself with a 2-mon advantage. And Aaron's going to have it all to do with a 1v3. So Jabba playing this one really safely, really smartly with the switch-ins, playing that patient stall game as well with those Toxic Poisons. Protect does come out from that Bronzor. Protect comes out from the Lugia as well. So good stuff there from Jabba. It's going to just allow the Mega Aerodactyl and the Hitmontop to both go down to the poison. And there it is. They both go down. It is now 1v3 then. Is Jabba about to take a game off Aaron here? It's all up to that Marshadow then. We saw how powerful the Shadow Sneak can be and does have type advantage over both Bronzor and the Lugia here then. One turn of Trick Room left for Jabba. So one move, I think one Aeroblast from Lugia ought to really do the trick into that Marshadow as well. You know, Marshadow not known for being the strongest defensively. Toxic does miss on the Bronzor. There's the Feather Dance. It's going to drop the attack on the Marshadow as well. Goes for the Spectral Thief, goes for the damage, but that's only doing enough to take Lugia down to half HP. And now Is this it on 10? Number 14, is Jabba going to tie us up here then? Trick Room has now ended. But with that attack drop from that Feather Dance, my Shadow is in a bit of a spot. Of course, no switchings available. This is Aaron's last mon. Spectral Thief comes out. Is it going to be enough to take care of Lugia? It's not. Lugia hangs on then. There's the Air Blast from the Lugia. It takes it out, and Jabba ties us up at 1 apiece. It is 1-1. We go into yet another game number 3 then. So Aaron being taken to another game 3 for 2 weeks in a row and going for the super hyper offense lead this time with the Mega Aerodactyl and the Zacian Crown. And Jabba choosing to lead with Bronzor and that Alolan Marowak. Now we're potentially going to go for something like a Perish Song and a Trick Room, or Trick Room Protect and then Perish Song. You know, get that speed control up over, you know, those two very, very fast mons he's facing down. There's the Mega there. The Rock Slide comes out. That does some very good damage to Alolan Marowak, so no Protect there. There's a substitute from the Zacian. Goes for the Perish Song. There is the Trick Room. And there it is now, with then all 4 mons on the field on that countdown timer. 3 times to get it done. Aaron probably feels in a very good spot, you know, having that attack boosted Zacian behind the sub as well. Is in a very good position. Of course, does not have speed control, but might not matter. There's the Toxic from the Bronzor, and here it is again. The Growl comes out from the Alolan Marowak, drops the attack of that Mega Aerodactyl. There is the Rock Slide. That's going to take out the Alolan Marowak, getting some good damage away at Bronzor. But now the Mega Aerodactyl not only on a Perish Song timer, but also on a timer with that Toxic Poison too. That move from Alolan Marowak dropping the attack, of course, back down to neutral for that Zacian Crown as well. So again, another good move choice there from Jabba. Not something you'd expect on the Alolan Marowak. A very, very unusual move set. That is for sure. As now Lugia switches in. 3 times of Trick Room left to go. Protect comes out from that Bronzor. There's the Feather Dance to Lugia, but it fails, and there's the Behemoth Blade into that Lugia. That's got some good damage away. Rock Slide, obviously protect Lugia. Lugia is not protected, unlike Bronzor. And Lugia just about hanging on there with a little bit of HP, but now it is all up to this turn. Then can Aaron get it done? His mons are going to perish in this next turn. Does he maybe choose to, keep that Zacian alive? Escavalier switches in. Of course, there's a Zacian, switches out. In comes Rotom Heat. Lugia gets off a calm mind. Earthquake comes out from that Mega Aerodactyl. Gets a little bit of damage with Escavalier, but Perish Song is going to take care of Mega Aerodactyl. And now it's up to my Shadow and Rotom Heat. There's 1 turn of Trick Room left to go. Escavalier going to, of course, thrive under Trick Room. Very, very slow mon. Lugia not on a whole lot of HP. You know, we saw this thing have Roost last week, so potentially a Roost here. Protect comes out from the Lugia. Protect comes out from the Marshadow. Knockoff then blocked by that Protect. There's the Overheat from the Rotom Heat, and that's going to take it out. And now it is a 2v3 on Jabba's side. It's all up to Lugia and Bronzor then. And Trick Room is now over. You know, yes, Rotom Heat might have dropped his special attack, but that Overheat's still going to do some big damage with Bronzor, just above half HP. Tried to play that patient Perish Song game, but just too much sort of attacking options on Aaron's side. You know, that Rotom Heat and the Mega Aerodactyl just so powerful. Protect comes out from the Lugia, but it's going to fail. Shadow Sneak is going to take care of that Lugia. Now it's all up to Bronzor. Overheat's going to come in. Bronzor manages to live that one and goes for the Trick Room. That's really all it could do at this point. And this one's going to be all wrapped up on a play. And Aaron, the coach of Inglorious Surfers, is going to take his 4th win of the season. Moves to 4-0. Still yet to lose a match then this season. Toxic comes out from the Bronzor. I think it's too little too late. There's a Spectral Thief. That's going to take out the Bronzor. And that is game then. So superb stuff from both coaches. I don't think looking at that, you would have thought that that was going to go on for as long as it did. But, you know, Jabba really proved his mettle, you know, proved he is a very solid player, which we knew anyway, and taking Aaron all the way. But Aaron's strong Pokemon just too much for him in the end. That Zacian, Mega Aerodactyl, Rotom Heat, that sort of trio of Mons. So many people are having such a hard time to stop. Only Draco managing to put an end to that Doggo's life so far. So we will certainly see if anyone else can stop Aaron in the near future. But GG's to both coaches. Said Aaron moving to that 4-0 record, looking very, very good to make playoffs even at this early stage. But on to our third game of the show then. It is the Wobbuffet Ninjas taking on Crizzle's South Croydon Swords. Of course, as I mentioned earlier, when the Ninjas were the Bully Boys, Crizzle able to get those 2 match wins in playoffs. The second time round, much, much closer than the first one. Of course, Crizzle's Mudsdale proving to be way too much for the Bully Boys to handle at that point. Getting that swagger off into the own tempo Mudsdale, and it just wrecked house from there. But 2 very, very different teams then, and 2 very, very different teams now, and 2 varying records. South Croydon Swords, Crizzle on that 2-1, you know, getting that win over Latvians Miami Heat last week, and then Ninjas getting that all-important first win of the season over the Long Island Goomys last week then. So both going to be looking to continue that winning ways. And you know, we've seen Crizzle run a few different teams so far. You know, we saw against Dogsy where it didn't quite work out. He chose not to bring, you know, the likes of the Kyogre and things, and brought like Hydreigon, Honchkrow, the Raichu. One thing is for sure is that Whimsicott is going to feature heavily in this game. You know, we've seen, you know, this thing is a very offensive Whimsicott. You know, you don't typically see a lot of attacking moves, and if you do, it's like a Moonblast or a Dazzling Gleam. But thus far, we've seen that Whimsicott running Energy Ball, and it's proved to be very strong. And you know, if the Ninjas do choose to bring that Mega Swampert, then you know, an Energy Ball is going to do some big damage in that, being 4 times weak. Have not seen a lot of Mega Aggron since week 1. I think it's been put into retirement just for now. You know, he's waiting for the opportune moment to bring out that big bulky boy. But the likes of Weezing could be very, very useful here, just to turn off, you know, the likes of those abilities. You know, something like the Rain on the Politoed, or Queenie Majesty on that Serena could prove to be really useful. And Honchkrow looks to be very strong into the likes of that Lunala as well. So some good options on Crizzle's side. Over on the side of the Ninjas, you know, we saw Lunala and Kangaskhan just run house over Silly's Long Island Goomys last week. So maybe the Ninjas look to sort of keep things the same way, but also could choose to make use of that Kyogre's Rain should Crizzle choose to bring it. And make full use of it and bring that Mega Swampert, obviously with that Swift Swim. And Volcanion as well here could be very good with its dual Fire Water typing. You know, should Crizzle decide to reset the weather with something like a sunny day, then the Volcanion is going to work really, really well here. So what we've not seen since week 2 is that Hatterene. You know, it does give Ninjas that secondary option to set up Trick Room. So could be something that he goes for, you know, just try and change things up. And of course the Boltund here as well. The Boltund could be very useful into Crizzle's team, unless that Raichu is kicking about in the back, and then Lightning Rod looks very, very scary. And of course, do not sleep on Sableye. You know, we saw how strong this thing was for the Beauty Boys in Season 1 with those Quash and Prankster moves, so keep an eye on that thing as well. Should Crizzle not have Psychic Terrain up or doesn't bring Indeedee Mill, Sableye could be quite important in this matchup. But I'm going to stop me rambling, as I always say. Let's get into this one. It is the South Croydon Swords taking on the Wobbuffet Ninjas, and the Ninjas, of course, have Lunala, Sableye, Politoed, Serena, Mega Swampert, and Boltund. Crizzle with the Kyogre and Indeedee Mill, Weezing, Whimsicott, Raichu, and Honchkrow then. So again, no Mega for Crizzle, but he leads the line with that Whimsicott and the Indeedee Mill, and the Ninjas lead the line with Lunala and the Mega Swampert. So typically the Lunala comes in to try and get that Trick Room off in that first turn and set up things for the slow ones in the back. Mega Swampert there obviously leading the line, maybe expecting that Kyogre to start things off. There you go, Swampert goes for his Mega. The Heat Wave comes out from the Lunala and it misses both Indeedee Mill and the Whimsicott. Moonblast is going to break that Shadow Shield, drops a special attack as well on Lunala, but the Shadow Ball is going to take care of things, and Lunala goes down, and Darkest Lariat comes out from that Mega Swampert, and that's going to take care of an Indeedee Mill, and a very fast-paced, hectic start there then for this one, as a Mon goes down for each team in turn number 1, and completely different to our last match. And now in comes the Serena, and in comes the Kyogre then for Krizzle. Gets that rain up. And that's going to purely benefit that Mega Swampert as well at this point. Krizzle may look to get Tailwind up for that Whimsicott, you know. Kyogre has been known to run something like an Ice Beam, so could go for that into something like the Serena slot. Protect comes out from the Mega Swampert, and then Protect comes out from the Kyogre. Giga Drain blocked by that Protect, and the Power Whip going to be blocked by that Protect from the Kyogre, so neither team getting any attacks off there. Protect just blocking things off, but Protect's now bent on both sides. And rain up for another couple of turns, but you know, the Ninja's revealing that Serena has the Power Whip. And Krizzle going to be awfully afraid of that into his Kyogre. May choose to switch it out just so, you know, it doesn't eat one of those. He's banned for his Protect, and it's not worth risking the double Protect at this early point of the game then. So we move on into turn number 3. Swampert switches out, in comes the Sableye, in comes the Honchkrow. Giga Drain, that was obviously always going at the Mega Swampert, does some good damage away to Swampert, and the Power Whip gets some good damage away to the Honchkrow as well. Then the Honchkrow in a good position here against that Serena. We said should that Whimsicott maybe go for a Tailwind, get that speed control up, that Honchkrow we have seen run Brave Bird, and Serena's not going to enjoy taking one of those. Of course, Psychic Terrain is still up, so Sableye can go for a Negative Quash. Protect comes out from that Honchkrow, but the Tailwind is good, but the Triple Axle is going to take out the Whimsicott, and it is now a 2v3, has lost his access to that support mon as well. And now in swaps the Kyogre then. Kyogre and Honchkrow. You know, Sableye not likely to live any kind of attack from something like that Kyogre. One more turn of terrain up as well, so not great. Serena goes for Protect. Water Spout comes out from that Kyogre. That's going to take a Sableye, and all of a sudden is a 2v2. There's the Brave Bird from that Honchkrow. 2 more turns after Tailwind and 1 more turn after Rain, and now in comes the Mega Swampert then. Still with rain up, so it's going to get access to that Swift Swim. Protect fails on that Serena then. Sucker Punch though blocked by that Coily Majesty. That's a bit of a mistake there from Krizzle. Water Spout do some good damage away there, and Liquidation going to take out the Honchkrow. And all of a sudden it is 1v2 as the rain ends. Tailwind is still up for that Kyogre then. And it's fully advantage the Ninjas there. Water Spout comes out. That's going to take care of the Swampert. And now it's all up to the Serena. There's the Power Whip, but it is Rindo Berry Kyogre. And Kyogre does manage to hang on through that thanks to the Berry. And now it is all up Serena, Kyogre. Tailwind is gone, but Kyogre is going to be faster than that Serena. And Matt now is going to have to hope for an Origin Pulse miss or a miss or any other move. There's the Origin Pulse. That takes us to the Serena. And there it is then. Krizzle takes game number 1 then. Maybe a Protect there on that Swampert could have saved things in the late point of that game, but not quite able to get it off, and now Krizzle takes the lead as Ninjas lead the line of Mega Swampert and Bolton this time. Krizzle choosing to continue with that Whimsicott and indeed a male lead. Proved how strong it was in that last game. We have seen the Tailwind goes up from the Whimsicott. There's the Expanding Force. I get some good damage away. Electrify fails into that Whimsicott slot. Darkest Area is going to take care of that Indeedee Mail. So Electrify then, one of Bolton's signature moves, you know, is also on Heliolisk, but Electrify of course does turn that mon's moves into electric type for that turn. So you could see what the Ninjas were going for there, aiming to get an Energy Ball or Giga Drain into electric type, which of course wouldn't affect Swampert. Now in comes the Kyogre, does get the rain set up for that Mega Swampert, but of course Tailwind is up on Krizzle's side. And that Whimsicott is going to be faster, even with that with the rain being up to proc the Swift Swim on the Mega Swampert. So can't risk a Giga Drain going off into that Mega Swampert as Protect does come out there. There's the Giga Drain into the Bolton. Bolton goes down. And Water Spout is going to get blocked by that Protect on that Mega Swampert then. So it's now 1 apiece as now Lunala switches in. We saw this thing go for a Heat Wave, so it looks to be a more sort of attacking hyper offense set on that Lunala. And with it going first in that first game, it looks like Choice Scarf. Are the Ninjas going to look to swap? The swap head does switch out there as the Serena Protect comes out from that Kyogre Giga Drain. Going to be resisted by that Serena, and Psyshock blocked by that Protect then. Psyshock obviously damaging the target on its defense stats. A Kyogre with that lowered defense rather than special defense. Obviously identifying how strong a special defense is. Protect comes out from that Serena. Moonblast into that Lunala is going to break a Shadow Sheet. There's the Water Spout. Is it going to live? It lives on 3% HP, just about. There's the Psyshock. Takes the Kyogre down to 31% HP. Tailwind is now over, and there is one more turn of Psychic Terrain. So if that Sableye is kicking around in the back as that last mon, is important to note. Of course, Indeedee Mail is gone. Lunala switches out, in comes the Swampert, then Protect comes out from the Kyogre. There's the Tailwind from the Whimsicott. Power Whip blocked by that Protect then. And now Kyogre is locked into Origin Pulses then. The Water Spout's going to do not anywhere near as much damage with it having much lower health. But Swamp is in a position here. Tailwind is up and knows it's not going to live any kind of grass attack from that Whimsicott. Double Protect comes out this time trying to stall that Rain, just to lower the damage from that Origin Pulse, but that does mean it is going to lose a Swift Swim ability and has burned that Protect with 2 more turns of Tailwind to go. Can't switch into Lunala having such low HP. In comes the Weezing then with that Neutralizing Gas. Protect comes out from the Whimsicott. Darkest Lariat into that Weezing. Triple Axle blocked by that Protect, and 1 more turn of Tailwind to go then. So Weezing switches in then. That's going to turn off the Queenly Majesty on that Serena. And of course, there's the Giga Drain from the Whimsy that takes out the Mega Swamp. Sludge Bomb does some good damage away at Serena, but not quite enough. And Triple Axle, is it going to hit all 3 times? Gets the crit as well, could be all important. And Whimsicott goes down. And it is now a 2v2 then. Kyogre and Weezing versus Serena and Lunala then. And this is an all-important turn. We've always seen Lunala has Psyshock, so one Psyshock into that Weezing ought to be enough. And then it's just a case of whether Serena can live an attack from that Kyogre and get off a Power Whip, and should be enough to take care of it. You would think Krizzle's going to go for the Protect this turn on the Kyogre then, just to block any kind of, threat from that Power Whip. Krizzle may sort of identify that Serena's going to go for the attack and go for on the attack with that Weezing if it lives though. A very high intensity game. Protect comes out from that Kyogre. The Protect comes out from the Serena. Then the Thunderbolt though into the Kyogre. So chooses not to go in for the Weezing. Goes to damage on the Kyogre. And there it is 1v2 now. It's Kyogre and Weezing versus Serena. This looks very familiar then. Serena facing down the Kyogre, and Ninjas maybe making the wrong choice there with the choice of Mon when into Origin Pulse. The Serena does manage to live that. Power Whip and the Kyogre is going to take care of it. It is a 1v1, but the Weezing's going to take care of the Serena, and it is a 2-0 to Krizzle then. Once again, unable to overcome esteemed Mr. Krizzle, the South Croydon Soz. Very, very, very annoyed at myself for that game too. It was a very obvious choice of what I should have done with the Lunala, and I just straight up did not do it. So, you live and learn. You made these mistakes, and it's full props to Chris. Played a really, really fun match, and it was very high intensity. It was just like bump, 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 bump. Mons going down left, right, and centre. It was absolute carnage, but yeah. 3 losses now for the Ninjas, 1 and 3. Meanwhile, Krizzle moves to the 3 and 1, completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Krizzle making a very, very good start of life in Season 3 of the British Pokemon League then. But onto our 4th and penultimate game of this week then. It is Memes Space City PC taking on the Cali Bastiodons, as said, both losing out last week. Of course, haven't faced each other yet, Space City PC being one of our new teams. On, of course, here last season, so no head-to-head record to speak of. But as you can see in terms of season record, Meme with that 2-1 Bastiodons, like the last match, on a 1-2, so opposite ends of a season record. We saw that the first time that the Mega Charizard and Groudon can be tamed. Dogsy proving that it can be stopped. That prankster weather just allowing Dogsy's Mons to be able to just take care of the threat that they provided. And, Mega Charizard with that 4 times rock weakness as well. The Mega Kangaskhan just fully able to take care of that. So it has, a little bit like Aaron, showed some kinks in the armor, but that's not to say that Meme's team isn't strong. that duo is still very scary, along with the likes of the Venusaur, which obviously gets a buff from that sun. Mian Xiao with a strong support man. Cherim, of course, as well, paired next to Groudon can be really, really huge. And that Togekiss as well, of course, in their format does get access to Tailwind, so it can be very solid for support in that regard. And like we saw in week 1, that Umbreon as well, Umbreon is a lot bulkier than it looks. If you don't have any kind of fighting type moves to deal with that thing or fairy types, it can be very difficult to deal with. And Rotom Wash as well, I think is a good mon choice. It maybe doesn't so much work in the Sun team, but should the other teams change the weather and bring in that rain, then Rotom Wash is going to fully benefit from that. And of course, our team is the Dusknoir, the Linoon, Galar, and the Wartortle as well. Wartortle, the Baby Blastoise, gets Fake Out, Follow Me. This could be something that Meme chooses to adopt in the lineup. But over on Orma's side, then it's not been going too merrily along for Orma, with that heavy sort of Steel Psychic type in the team. A lot of people have been able to sort of identify those weaknesses, especially the big Ghost type weakness, and deal with his team. But do not count it out. That Solgaleo next to that Aerodactyl, can go for a Bulldoze, proc that weakness policy with that clear body. Much like Metagross last season, is not going to get the speed drop, whereas everything else on the field, as it is not flying type, is going to feel the effects of it. And of course, Comfey can come in with that triage ability, Floral Healing. If you aren't able to take care of that Solgaleo in one turn, then it can just heal itself right back up. And of course, Mega Metagross with that Tough Claws ability. We saw just how strong Bullet Punch can be against Draco a couple of weeks back, so do not count this thing out. But, I said, if there's any kind of Ghost typage on moves on Space City's team, then it's looking in a strong position to deal with the likes of the Solgaleo, Mega Metagross, the Jirachi, the Chandelure, Blacephalon as well. So there's a lot of open weaknesses to Orma, but Orma is a talented player, so that's not to say that he can't work around those and find himself in a good position. But let's get straight into this one. It is the Space City PC taking on the California Bastions, and we launched straight in this one. We launched at the game a little bit late with the recording, and as you can see there from a foul play, Mega Metagross just about hanging on with 2% HP then. Not quite going down to that. And on the other side, on Orma's other mon is the Riolu, and Space City has got the Umbreon and the Rotom Wash. Obviously, the light screen is up for Meme. He's also got Mega Charizard, Groudon, Dusknoir, and that is Wartortle in the back. And over on Orma's side, he's got Aerodactyl, Blacephalon, and Solgaleo, as well as Chandelure then as well. Metagross goes for it, Mega, then body presses, not going to quite take care of Umbreon. Reflect goes up, there's the Snarl, that is going to take care of Mega Metagross though as it goes down, drops the special attack to Riolu. There's the final Gambit into the Rotom Wash, it's not going to quite do nothing. Riolu goes down as well, so already a very, very chaotic start of the game, and at this very early stage of turn 2, it is a 2v4, so really not the start Orma will have wanted here. Already using his Mega, losing his support mon in Riolu as well. It is going to be all up to those final 2 mons to take care of Umbreon and Rotom Wash. Maybe not the right move choice on that Riolu then. Was maybe hoping to do a little bit more to that Rotom Wash. In comes the Mega Aerodactyl and Chandelure then. And Umbreon's positioned very well to deal with that Chandelure. I'm not sure if it has a sort of dark attacking move other than Snarl, but either way the Snarls are going to be very big against that Chandelure to drop its special attack. There's the Rock Slide from the Mega Aerodactyl. It's not going to quite take care of Umbreon. There's the Energy Ball as Rotom Wash lives that as well. There's the Electro Web. That's going to drop the speed of both the Aerodactyl and the Chandelure. There's the Snarl. Drops a special attack as well. Now Orma's in a hell of a spot. Reflecting Light Screen still up for Meme as well. There's Rotom Wash and Umbreon just seemingly refusing to die. Baby Doll Eyes comes out from that Umbreon. Just a fully support of Umbreon. Rock Slide is now going to take out Rotom Wash. Heatwave though, the Umbreon just about hangs on the leftovers, giving it a little bit more HP, and now in comes the heavy hitter. It is Groudon, sets up that sun, and now they are in a world of hurt. Of course, Aerodactyl is going to be able to live the likes of those Precipice Blades, but the Chandelure is not. Baby Doll Eyes comes out, and that attack drop, meaning the Umbreon lives again. There's a Shadow Claw, that's going to take care of the Chandelure then. So as I said, Meme identifying that Ghost type weakness. Now it's all up to Aerodactyl then in the 1v3. And I would think that Meme is going to be able to take this one and go into the game 2 with a 1-0 lead. Helping Hand comes out with Rock Slide then. Misses the Groudon again. Umbreon lifted again. Dragonclaw, though, he's going to take out his own Umbreon, so I'm not quite sure what Meme was trying to do there. Maybe trying to get in the safe switch into Mega Charizard. I'm not sure, but all of a sudden it is a 1v2. I think this one is over anyways, but, you know, one Rock Slide could be enough to take care of that Mega Charizard, even with the stat drop. We'll have to wait and see. There's the Mega comes out. There's the Flamethrower. That's going to take care of the Aerodactyl, though. Mega Charizard being faster. And Meme goes into a 1-0 lead as we zoom on into game number 2. Orma this time going for that Aerodactyl and the Solid Glare, and Meme sticking with that Umbreon and Rotom Wash. Then Rotom Wash, you know, is going to be a good matchup into that Aerodactyl. And similarly, Umbreon is a solid matchup into that Solid Glare as well. Gonna have to watch out for that weakness possible. But there is Bulldoze Levitate. It's gonna stop Rotom Wash being affected by it. It's gonna drop the speed on Umbreon. It's gonna proc the policy on that Solid Glare. There's the close combat that takes care of the Umbreon. So a much better starter life in this one as Orman gets a man down. Reflect goes off in that Rotom Wash. Does drop his defense and Spadef stats thanks to that close combat. But now Groudon switches in, and that is not what the Solid Glare is going to want to see. One Precipice Blades is going to probably take care of that thing. Solid Glare choosing to switch out. Then there in comes the Chandelier. Not the right switch in there. I don't think this Precipice Blade is going to take care of the Chandelier. Then Shadow Ball is going to come out into the Aerodactyl, and that's going to bring any potential sashes on that thing as well. There's now 3v3. Orma maybe just didn't have the switch in he wanted. Yeah, it would have been Metagross either way. Either way, he had a switch in that was weak to ground, so couldn't have really done a lot there. Was either going to lose his Solid Glare or was going to lose something else. But now Metagross comes to the field. Tailwind is up for Orma, so is going to have that speed control. You know, Metagross proved to be a lot faster than it seemed. Rockside comes out from that Aerodactyl looking for those flinches. There is the Ice Punch, not quite enough to take care of the Groudon. Does get the flinch on Rotom Wash, and Precipice Blades. Mega Metagross only just hanging on from that as well, so Mega Metagross somehow bulking through that. And Groudon just putting in the work here, just, you know, has so much advantage over on this team, you know, with the Ghost move and those ground moves. There's the Rock Slide from Aerodactyl, again looking for those flinches. Dragon Claw into that Aerodactyl. There's a Shadow Ball, blocked by that Protector's Aerodactyl. Lives to fight another day, but only one more turn of Tailwind. Meme is a very good one. In comes the Solid Glare, then Protect comes out from that Aerodactyl. There's the Shadow Claw into the Solid Glare. Electro Web, is it going to be enough to take her out? No, it's not going to drop the speed, thank the clear body. Trying to just take care of that Mega Aerodactyl, but take care of that Aerodactyl, but Protect stopping it from going down at least that turn. But this is not a good position for Orma to be in. Tailwind goes up again. There is the Zen Head, but not quite doing no Precipice Blades. There is going to take care of the Solid Glare. All of a sudden it is a 2v3. Electro Web comes out, takes care of the Aerodactyl, and is now a 1v3. Mega Metagross on 2% HP with it all to do. This one is going to be over. Meme back to winning ways with a solid 2-0 win over the Bastion, and Orma just not able to get it going against this team. You know, it has just so many weaknesses versus it that I think Meme always had the advantage here, but thought Orma might be able to get something like Ice Punch, though is going to take care of the Groudon, but Shadow Ball's going to get the job done. Meme takes this one in a 2-0 fashion and sends Orma down to a 1-3 record. Meanwhile, Meme, as I said, gets back to winning ways, is now on a 3-1 record. So very, very strong start to life in the British Pokemon League from Meme. We've all been very, very impressed with him and his team, and just really proving the prowess he has with a very, very solid win over Orma. So GG's to both coaches. We'd hope to see Orma bounce back next week in week number 5 before we get in a free agency. But I'll be honest, I would be very strongly expecting, you know, some free agency trades from Orma just to try and, you know, negate some of those weaknesses, because it seems just so, he's in such a position that if they bring, you know, some Ghost type moves, an Ice type and a Steel type moves, it kind of just deals with his whole team, which, you know, in a draft type setting is not what you want. So I would expect to see Orma's team switch up a little bit. But regardless of that, into our final match of the Week 4 show, it is the one we've been waiting for. It is Dogsy Shadow Kings taking on Miami Heat. Now, Before we go into this, I must prefix this that unfortunately Latvian was unavailable to play this week. Dogsy was very happily going to allow for a double forfeit, but just for the sake of the show, so we had something to show off for you, our coaches Aaron T. Marshall and Crizzle decided to play out this one. So you have something to witness and see these two teams go at it. So you're going to see something different to what you probably would have seen between Dogsy ShadowKings and Latvians Miami Heat. But all the same, going to be a very, very scary and interesting matchup. Dogsy with that Mega Kangaskhan, your focus sashes are not safe with his parental bond ability. Something like a double edge that might take something down to a sash, gets the second hit in, and that takes care of that. Necrozma, I'm going to keep bullying myself for bullying this thing in week 1. I was like, nah, this is a bad legendary. It is not. Dogsy been able to really put in the work with this thing with those Photon Geysers and Meteor Beams with that power head, boosting a special attack and make it very, very difficult to stop. So massive props to Dogsy. Very great to see that Necrozma putting in the work. And Greninja as well as Illumies as well there. Greninja with that protein ability is basically just Gen 6's Cinderace. So it makes it very, very difficult to deal with if it does move first. Haven't seen anything of Bisharp yet, so whether we see it this week, I would say no, just purely because there's not a lot of stat drop on Latvian's team, and that sort of 4 times weakness to fighting makes things a little bit scary when he's got the likes of Sork and Slacking running around, and Mega Blastoise does have something like an Aura Sphere as well. Ditto as well. Could this be the week that we finally see Ditto makes appearance? Dogsy very synonymous with that Ditto. It is such a strong pairing, them two. Dogsy really knows how to use the Ditto. So it could be exciting to see that one. As well as Gastrodon, Beartick, Dreadnought, and Galarian Stunfisk. Beartick, for it being a low tier mon, has really, really put in the work for Dogs as well. I've been very impressed with that Beartick. So exciting to see some of these sort of unconventional mons putting in the work. Of course, do not forget about Darkrai, another mon like Ditto we have yet to see, but I'm sure Dogsy's waiting for the opportune moment to run the strat on that he wants to. Over on Latvian side then, at the moment that Entei looking very, very strong, one of the kill leaders of the league, but unfortunately not a lot around that getting the kills he wants. As Latvians made a very unconventionally poor start to the season. I think with everything going on with Latvian personally, he's not been able to sort of play it how he wants to. But regardless of that, it's very surprising to see Lat not make the good start. But could be this be the one where Miami Heat get themselves back to winning ways. That indeed Alakazam can go for that expanding force spam, and if Dogsy hasn't got any kind of dark or bug moon to deal with that duo at the time, can be very scary to go up against. Of course, the Volbeat as well, the other flying bug, potentially going to go up against each other both with that prankster ability and with both the whole host of status moves that make them very scary to go up against, as well as Giratina as well, Latvian's legendary. Haven't exactly seen Giratina do a lot as of just yet, but do not count this thing out as a very scarily bulky mon, and can be, it can run really well in something like a stall setting. Further down the line, we've got, of course, Ambipom and Sork. Sork with a very, very high physical attack that can make it very terrifying to deal with. And, of course, a Mulga and Manectric. Manectric just, with that Lightning Rod ability, can sort of just remove some of that electric type weakness that Blastoise is a bit afraid of. And Emolga can, of course, buff that Manectric special attacks with its own discharge. Them running together can be quite a scary pairing. But on to this game then. I'm going to stop rambling. Let's get on our final game of the week. It is ShadowKings versus Miami Heat. We'll look straight up from this one. And the Miami Heat leading the line with Entei and Mega Blastoise. Meanwhile, Dogsy ShadowKings leading the line with Goomys and Necrozma then. So a good support one next to that Necrozma. Necrozma, I said you've seen just how much damage this thing can do. Could go for something like the Meteor Beam here and into the Entei could prove to be quite useful. Might even get a kill on that Entei depending on how bulky it is as Blastoise goes, which Mega comes out with the Follow Me, then the Light Screen goes off from the enemies, the Howl comes out from the Entei, and there's the Air Power, and so going for the Air Power on the Entei, that's going to drop the special defense on the Blastoise with Follow Me, allowing that Mega Blastoise to tank that hit and keep Entei nice and healthy and get an attack buff from that Howl as well, so that Entei in a very scary position to be able to go for a sweep here unless the ShadowKings can deal with it. Does have Light Screen up to be able to deal with the bosses. There's a Sacred Fire. That's going to take care of the Illumis though. Down it goes. it's a mon advantage for Crizzle. Crizzle's Miami Heat. And there's a Dragon Tail that's going to swap Necrozma now, and in comes the Ditto. Then the Ditto is going to copy that Entei. And copy that attack boost that it's got as well. And what is the ShadowKings going to bring in? It is the Necrozma then. Necrozma, as said, could go for the meteor beam here. Give itself that special attack boost. Swaps that in, in comes the Dreadnought, then extreme speed in, and the Necrozma getting some good damage away. There's the photon, guys, that's going to take, is it going to be enough to take out the Blastoise with the special defense buff? It's not. There's the liquidation into the Dreadnought. Dreadnought managing to tank that then. Only taking neutral damage because of that. Entei and Blastoise and still on the field, and the one advantage then for the Miami Heat. It's a good start for the Miami Heat though. Cosmo switches out, now in comes the Ditto, and then Ditto swaps in and gets that Mega Blastoise. Mega Blastoise switches out, now in comes the Indeedee, gets that Psychic Terrain. There's a Sacred Fire. The Mega Blastoise is going to resist that, but that gets some good damage away thanks to that Howl. But the Liquidation going to take care of that Entei, and Entei now finally goes down. And it is now 3v3, we're all tied up now as in comes the Alakazam then. So are we about to see that expanding force spam that we were warned about earlier on? ShadowKings getting some good information thanks to that Ditto, able to see the moveset on that mon that it has copies. In comes the Cosmo, there's the Energy Ball, the Window Berry, is it going to allow the Dreadnought to live? It is, there's the Expanding Force, that's going to take care of the Dreadnought. Is now a 3v2 then. And it's now Necrozma and Ditto with the auto do, but the Ditto copies that Alakazam, so Alakazam is going to be able to go for Expanding Forces on ShadowKing's side. That Ditto might be able to get some kills off. There's the first Expanding Force, gets a critical hit on the Miami Heat Alakazam. There is the Energy Ball, gets some good damage away. Dazzling Gleam doesn't quite take care of Necrozma. There's the Dark Pulse, that's going to take care of Alakazam. It is now a 2v2 then. Necrozma and the Ditto on 2% and 7% HP respectively. Now in comes the Mega Blastoise. This one looks all but over. Our Miami Heat going to take the first game off Dogsy's ShadowKings then. Indeedee with a good amount of health left, and can of course go for those Expanding Forces. There's the Expanding Force from the Alakazam moves first, takes care of that Blastoise. The Energy Ball is going to take care of the Ditto. There's the Dark Pulse, takes care of the Indeedee. And oh my goodness, ShadowKings are going to take that first game in one of the craziest turn 7s I've absolutely ever seen. 2% and 7% HP, takes care of the Blastoise, takes care of the Indeedee, and all of a sudden Dogsy ShadowKings able to take that first game. And then it's game 2, Dreadnought and Illumis leading the line then for ShadowKings, and Alakazam and Slacking for Miami Heat. Of course, we saw last week Alakazam go for that skill swap on that Slacking and allow it to really put in the work, getting that true ability off of it, and it's going to really put in the work with its high attack stats and HP stats written down. Comes out, there is the Crunch, and Alakazam's going to take it down with Sash then, drops its defense as well. There's a skill swap as we expected, and there is the Brick Break into the Dreadnought, and Dreadnought manages to just tank that. That's a good amount of damage though, but Rain is up and allow that Dreadnought that bit of extra speed and buffs to its water attacks. Protect comes out from that Dreadnought. Truant procs on the Alakazam. There is Tailwind on the Illumis, and Body Slam comes out from the Slacking and gets that Para on the Illumis as well. So all in all, good start to the game for both teams here. On to turn number 3. That Para could be really huge on that Illumis to stop them from getting any shenanigans off. ShadowKings are going to need to take care of that Slacking before it starts to sort of wreck house a little bit too much. The female switches and gets that Psychic Terrain set up. Then there's the Light Screen rolls on Illumis. Rock Slide comes out from the Dreadnought, some good damage. There's the Brick Break going to take care of the Dreadnought, and it is advantage to the Miami Heat. Tailwind is up for another 2 times with that terrain being up for the side of Miami Heat. All important as now as it in comes on the Necrozma. It's going to get a buff to its Photon Geyser thanks to that terrain, so that could be all but useful. Could be good into that slacking, or might just prove, choose to go for the Darples, take care of the Indeedee. Meanwhile, that Illumi's got to go for something. They just switch out as in comes Ditto. Ditto's going to copy that that slacking. There's the Photon Geyser. Is it going to do enough to slacking? It doesn't. Slacking just tanks that hit. There's the Hyper Voice from the Indeedee female. And Body Slam is going to get the Para on the Necrozma as well. So good stuff there from the slacking, able to tank that. ShadowKings are able to see that moveset that slacking has got on it as well, so it's some useful information, if not anything, for that Ditto. There is the Body Slam that takes care of the Miami Heat. Slacking Hyper Voice is going to take care of the Ditto though. Photon Geyser isn't going to do enough to Indeedee. It's not Indeedee, just hang on, it is now a 2v3 then. ShadowKings with all to do, but we saw just what they can do from a disadvantage point. Is now in comes the Alakazam though. I think one expanding force is Alakazam ought to do the trick in this game number 2. But let's see what happens. Alakazam obviously going to be moving first with that speed. Lumis could go for that Tailwind. It does go for Tailwind. There's the Hyper Voice though. That's going to take care of Necrozma. Expanding force takes care of that Lumis, and all of a sudden we are tied up at 1 apiece. Miami Heat getting the second game as we move on to another game 3 for this week. So all the game 3s happening in week number 4. We love to see it. As now Dreadnought and Illumis leading the line once again for ShadowKings, and Miami Heat going back to that lead in game number 1 with the Mega Blastoise and the Entei. Illumis maybe try and go for that rain again, just give that Dreadnought the advantage it needs with that Swift Swim. Of course, does potentially buff that Mega Blastoise attack, so got to be careful here with what it goes for. May just go for something like a Tailwind, or might try a switch in as well, knowing how strong that Entei Sacred Fire is going to be into it. It's always going to take it out as being such a strong move. Patient game going into turn number 1 then. Both coaches try and decide their best bet here. Could maybe see Howl again from that Entei, knowing how strong it is, but does he risk it with the Dreadnought opposing it? May go for something a little bit more defensive and patient. Oh, apologies. I'll turn down the music volume. I am speaking a little bit quality because my voice is starting to feel a little bit screwed. And the Illumis does switch out, and in comes the Ditto, then copies that Blastoise, but doesn't get the Mega thanks to it coming in early. Mega Blastoise goes for the fake out then. Entei goes for the Howl, and there's the Rock Slide from the Dreadnought. Gets some good damage off on the Entei. So good stuff there from ShadowKings, just choosing to switch in. Gives them some very good water type offensive pressure over that Entei, and now does give him access to a fake out, or as you can see there, hovering over the Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail obviously allowing the other one to switch out. There's the fake out though from the Ditto. Something Tantrum. Oh, Dreadnought just about hanging on there. And there's the Rock Slide. That's going to take out the Entei. Do some good damage with the Blastoise, and gets the all-important flinch on that Mega Blastoise as well. And it is an advantage to ShadowKings, and as in comes the Slacking. Slacking going to have that Truant ability, nowhere to skill swap it off it at the moment. Going to maybe hope that Mega Blastoise goes down and allowing that free switch into something like the Alakazam to get that skill swap off. Ditto switches out, then in comes the Illumis. Body slam though, is it going to get the power? It does, it gets the power once again. There's the rock slide from Dreadnought, again trying to go for those flinches, and it gets a second flinch in a row. So ShadowKings getting all the RNG look in this one then, and slacking then. This next turn going to allow it, the Truant is going to go off. ShadowKings will be hoping that Illumis isn't affected by that paralysis. Worst thing you want is the power to proc and not be able to take a turn when you've got the opportunity to get a prankster move off. Dreadnought has just been sat here on 4% HP for so long, just providing that pressure with the rock slides. Just slowly chipping away at that Mega Blastoise, and now that slacking tailwind does go up. There's the rock slide again, taking Blastoise down below 20% HP. There's Truant goes off. No flinch this time. Liquidation not quite taking care of the Illumis, even 3 more turns of tailwind to go. Meaning that Dreadnought is going to be moving first, but slacking is going to get a turn to move this time around. Has a host of options here. Could go for the rain now, could potentially maybe go for something like a light screen or reflect, some kind of screened move just to sort of lower the damage output. Dreadnought still somehow not gone down. Mega Blastoise switches out now, in comes the Alakazam. Power does proc on the Illumis, no rain dance for that, and Liquidation goes off. Body Slam is going to take care of that Illumis, and now all of a sudden it is a 3v3. Is ShadowKings going to bring in the Ditto, and they do. Now in comes the Ditto to copy that Alakazam. No terrain up just yet. You would expect the ShadowKings go for the Expanding Force on that Ditto just to get maximum damage output on. Said with no terrain, it means it's not going to hit both mons, but could be an option for them, for the Heat, just to bring it in for their own Alakazam's sake. But you potentially buff the Ditto on the other side, so it's a very risky play here. Both coaches taking their time, playing it patiently. There is the Expanding Force. Alakazam is going to resist. There's the Rock Slide. Is going to take care of that Alakazam then. And Truant procs on that slacking, and all of a sudden it is a 3v2 then. And it is Mega Blastoise in the back, of course, and Mega Blastoise on very low HP, like that slacking on 1 turn of tailwind left up for the ShadowKings. So this one could be all a fake out though from that Mega Blastoise. It's going to take out the Dreadnought. Expanding Force is going to take out that slacking. And now it is Necrozma and Alakazam versus a very low HP Blastoise. This one looks all but over. Dogsy then. ShadowKings are going to get the win over the Miami Heat. Their first win over the Heat in the British Pokemon League. Take this one 2-1. Absolutely phenomenal stuff there from both coaches. Again, big thanks to Aaron and Crizzle for taking care and playing that one out. As I said, unfortunately, we Latvian being unavailable in that game, rather than have a double forfeit and then just not have anything to show on the show, with it being a very exciting matchup. I was very looking forward to these two teams facing off each other. We did that instead. So, after this week's games then, let's take a quick look at the league table then and how things have been affected. And as you can see there, riding high at the top is the Inglorious Surfers on a 4-0 record. Still unbeaten, still yet to lose a match. As we said though, showing that those weaknesses, showing those kinks in the armor, has dropped 2 games in 2 weeks. Could we see maybe next week, him finally go down? Or is he going to continue this run on? South Croydon Sword, Space City PC, the Tyrants and ShadowKings all winning out this week. And now the Crizzle is up to 2nd place. Then it stays there in 2nd place. Meme Space City PC hops the Tyrants into 3rd place. And Dogsy and ShadowKings sticking around in 5th there as well with that 2-1 win. Meanwhile, in 6th, is the Long Island Goomys getting that win over the Swindon Rookidees, moves them to evens, a 2-2 record. And then down there at the bottom, then all separated by just match record. Miami Heat, Swindon Rookidees, Newcastle Thunderers, Knights of Cydonia, Wobbuffet Ninjas, and the Bastions all losing out this week, all with a hell of a lot to do as we move into week number 5 and our final week before the mid-season free agent trades then. But we're going to take a quick look at the schedule then and see those matches for next week. And we've got 2 very huge games. I would argue relegation 6-pointers then, as we said earlier in the season. Those 4 positions at the bottom mean you will be relegated if you don't finish in the playoffs. You'll join our brand new British Pokemon League Championship in next season. So a lot on the line. And 2, as I said, relegation 6-pointers. We've got Newcastle Thunderers versus California Bastions, both on that 1-3 record. And Oma, you know, losing out 2 weeks in a row now, and Dave obviously losing out this week. So both with a lot of proof. And then we've got the Swindon Rookidees versus the Wobbuffet Ninjas, of course, when the Ninjas were bully boys, knocking the Rookidees out of playoffs. So Draco with a lot of proof in this one, and again, you know, a lot on the line here. You know, you do not want to go into the break with a 1-4 record. It's going to leave so much to do in that second half of the season. So expect some very highly competitive, high pressure games in this one. Then we've got the Knights of Cydonia taking on South Croydon Source, so another difficult matchup there for Jabba. Faced off against first place this week, he plays second place next week. So, but you know, Jabba more than held his own in that one, so do not write him off on that match. That could be a very interesting one to say the least. And then we have Space City PC taking on Inglorious Surfers. It is third versus first. This one ought to be an absolute cracker. We've got Space City's Mega Charizard and Groudon facing off against the Zacian and that Rotom Heat. That is ought to be an absolute doozy of a match, so make sure you're here to stick around to see that one. Then we have got the Tyrants taking on Miami Heat. You know, the Tyrants on an absolutely great run at the moment, on a 3-1 record, as I said, making a great start at the British Pokemon League. You know, Latvians Miami Heat not having the best of times, unfortunately, thus far with a 1-3, very unwanted record. But you know, if anyone can turn it around, it would be Latvian. And finally, rounding out the week, then it is ShadowKings taking on the Long Island Goomys. These two haven't played each other since season 1. You know, shared out matches that season. You know, Dogsy won the first time round, Silly winning out the second time. So both with a point to prove against each other, and both looking to continue their winning ways. But without further ado, that is going to do it for this week's show. I hope you've all very much enjoyed yourselves this week. As I said, a lot to look forward to in week number 5 before we hit that free agency period over the weekend. So look out for that. Look out for some brand new teams when we move into week number 6. Of course, the week 5 show will be matches played before the free agency window opens, so there won't be any changes at that point, but we will look to go over the changes at the end of the show next Monday. So make sure you're here for that 8 o'clock British Pokemon League Twitch channel. I have been your host, Matt Starr, and I will see you all next week. Goodbye and good night. Mwah.